Hi guys, it's me, Canada from the Hot Toddy Nation, and today we're not doing a fanfic review. I'm going to be doing a creepypasta reading. I thought this might be interesting, something a little bit, something new, something different. I've always loved reading creepypastas, and I thought that I should do my own, and I will talk about the story at the end. My thoughts on the story. So let's get started. The story is called "The Smiling Man." About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the US. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend the time thinking. I spent 4 years like this, walking alone at night, and never once had I had a reason to be afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite, but all that changed in just in a few minutes one evening. It was Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was walking near the police patrolled park, quietly as always. From my apartment, it was quite night, and for even a weeknight with very little traffic, there was almost no one on foot. The park it was most nights was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. At first, at the far end of the street on my side was a silhouette of a man dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking. I had headed straight for me. I decided he was probably a drunk, and I stepped across so I could give so I could to the road. Decided close step as close as I could to the road to give him majority of the sidewalk to pass me by. The closer he got, the more I realized he gracefully was moving toward moving. He was very tall, lanky, and wearing an old suit. He danced closer until I could make out his face. His eyes were wide open and wide, and wild head tilted back slightly, looking off into the sky. His mouth was formed into a painfully wide cartoon of a smile between the eyes and the smile. I decided to cross the street before he danced closer. I took my eyes off of him to cross the empty street. As I reached the other side, I glanced back and then stopped dead in my tracks. He stopped dancing and was striding with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but looking skyward, the smile still on his lips. I was completely, utterly unnerved by this. I started walking again, but keeping my eyes on the man. He didn't move. Once I had put about half a block between us, I turned away from him for a moment and watched the sidewalk in front of me. The street and the sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he had been, standing, to find him gone. For the briefest moment I felt relieved, until I finally noticed him. He had crossed the street and now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadow, but I was certain he was facing me. I had looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved fast. I was shocked and then stood there for some time staring at him, and then he started moving towards me again. He took one giant, outrageous, tippy-toed steps, as if he was a cartoon character sneaking on someone, except he was moving very quickly. I'd like to say at this point I was running away or pulling my pepper spray out or my cell phone or anything at all, but I didn't. I just stood there completely frozen and smiling as the man crept towards me. And then he stopped again, about a car length away from me, still smiling, his smile still looking towards the sky. I finally found my voice, and I blurted out, first thing that came to mind, "What do you want?" "What do you want?" In an angry, commanding tone. What came out was a whimper. "What?" Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and about that he but he didn't react at all. He just stood there smiling. But but then after what felt like forever, he turned around very slowly and started dance walking towards me. Just like that, not wanting to turn my back on him again, I watched him go until he was far enough away that to almost be out of sight. And then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distance shaped of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way. At this time, he was running. I was running too. I was running until I was off the side road and back into a better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me, he was nowhere to be found. The rest of the way home. I kept glancing over my shoulder, always expecting to see his stupid smile, but he was never there. I lived in the city for 6 months after that night, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk. He didn't look high. He just looked completely and utterly insane. And that's a very, very scary thing to see. So that's it. That is The Smiling Man. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. It's a pretty good story. I mean, it's very chilling because it takes place in like the middle of the night, basically like 1 to 2 in the morning, where no one would normally be up on a weekday, particularly especially if it's a weekday. So that's what makes it creepy. And he's not like, as I say, he's not drunk or high or anything. He's just insane, which is hard to say if he's actually insane, because you don't know this guy and you don't know who he is or what he's really gonna do to you. He's just feels like he's just messing with you, but it's very scary. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a really good story, and I do suggest you read it. I know my reading wasn't all that good, but then again, I am just starting out on this. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. Once again, it's called The Smiling Man. So, yeah, I'm Canada, and goodbye for now.